Let's talk about financing for your next laundromat project. Whether you are purchasing a laundromat, building a new store, or buying laundry equipment, Eastern Funding offers financing solutions to help you on your laundromat journey. Eastern Funding has been financing laundromats since 1997, and they've helped thousands of laundromat owners with financing. They are specialists in the laundry space, and Eastern Funding's combination of personalized service, expertise, and customized financing solutions make them the premier lenders in the industry. Learn more at easternfunding.com/laundry.
Again, I know from my own experience, I don't get smart sitting behind this desk. I got to be out and about. I got to be out, connecting with members, learning from the experts. And so I just think that my one thing would be to get out there, go to a local meeting, get out to our next conference, make sure that you're taking advantage of all the resources that are out there. And yes, there's an awful lot to do in the day-to-day, but I think that those extra efforts you make to drudge through the airport, to get out and about, to be away from home for a few days, I think there's always a big payoff. And so I would just encourage people to get out and make those connections. It's going to make your business better. And frankly, you're going to have a lot more fun in this industry.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the PlanetLaundry Podcast. We're just over a month out from the Clean Show, and one of the things I wanted to do was unpack some of that, because it becomes really easy to forget about these big shows. You go and get really excited and fired up, and then you go back and it's day to day, and you sort of just forget all that momentum and lose all that headway that you were making on the thing you wanted to take back to your business. So I want to get a special guest on the show today to do a little bit of a recap for us in terms of what was going on there, give us some tips on how we can make sure that we're implementing some of those ideas that we took, and just kind of get the general lay of the land for what's going on in the industry right now that's making things like clean so popular. So to do that, to talk about that with me, I'm bringing in CLA CEO, Bryan Wallace. Bryan, welcome.
Thanks, Matt. Good to be here. And I love talking about good news. And that means Clean Show 2025. I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's always better when it's good news, right?
Love it.
It's a much easier conversation when we can be like, look at the great things that are going on.
It's a lot more fun this way.
So let's get into it. So, this was my first Clean Show. I've been going to trade shows for a long time, but this is my first Clean Show. And I got to say, like, it was impressive. It lived up to the hype. Everybody kept telling me, it's going to be really amazing. You're going to have a great time. It's going to be just full of energy. And it was. So it was for me. But what was it like for you as somebody who's kind of been to, more than one? This was not your first show. You've been to more than one of these.
Yeah, this was my 16th Clean Show, which for a mostly biennial show that definitely dates me or ages me in all this. But
you started working so young, Bryan. You started working so young.
I wish that was the only consideration. But no, it was a terrific show, and I heard a lot of best show ever. And wow. That sounds like hyperbole. That sounds crazy, but from people that have been around a while, I definitely heard that as a very common refrain, not just on site at the show, but as I've been out on the laundry trail here the last couple of weeks, visiting with folks in the industry all around the country that enjoyed the show. One of the big standouts for me was, Matt, you weren't the only one there for the first time. There was a huge first-time turnout, and we saw that with our segment being the vended laundry or laundromat industry, but also some of the other spaces. A lot of first-time attendees. One moment that stood out for me was on that very first morning of the show, 8 a.m. We had a room full of 800 plus people, and I asked, "Who's here at the first Clean Show?" And all the hands up. You look like someone was doing the wave, so it must have been 60% or maybe 70% of the audience. So, I think that new energy goes a long way. I think those of us that have been around a while are always sort of rekindled by the opportunity to plug in with the community and see everything that's new. Another thing that jumped out in that same vein is that we had 81 first-time exhibitors. And to put some context around that, that's 60% more first-time exhibitors than we had at the previous show. And so I think it's just indicative of innovation, technology, the industry changing. So we had a lot of fresh energy, a lot of juice to keep the industry going.
So talk about that a little bit, right? So things are changing. Obviously, I mean, the people are seeing opportunity, right? People are showing up to the show because they're most likely trying to learn about how do I get into this space. And then you've got on the manufacturer side or on the supplier side, you've got people who are looking at this space and going, "Oh, there's people who want to get into this industry. Maybe I'll sell my product there." Talk
Sure.
about kind of what's been going on and what the shift has been.
Yeah, I think again, there's a lot of factors, and I think one of the brilliant elements that I can only credit to the founders of the show, going back almost 50 years now, was this big tent concept where we have the dry cleaning industry and the laundromat industry and the commercial laundry business and the allied trades and the laundry managers that are running hospital and hotel laundries every day, all are under one roof for one show. And that just adds a lot of energy. It allows sort of a diversification of the business. So if one segment is up and other segments down, we still have a dynamite show. And, really, I think it's even become more appropriate in that the lines are blurring between these different industry types. And if you look at our members, who obviously are the vended laundry laundromat owners, more of them are doing commercial of business. They're doing wash, dry, fold. They're partnering with dry cleaners to be a wholesale partner for taking in dry cleaning. We have dry cleaners that are buying laundromats. We have dry cleaners that are leaning into wash, dry, fold. And so sort of that original concept, which was meant kind of lashing the rafts together to make sure we can keep having a consistent show every other year, I think is really sort of fully manifest at this show as the different industry segments are starting to come together. And with respect to what the exhibitors brought to the table, obviously they deserve a ton of credit because not only is it pricey for them to attend the show and make that investment of time and treasure to be part of the show, but they all came ready to play, right? They all had new products, new innovations. So not only exhibitors that have been with us from day one back in 1977 to those that were coming to their first show, there just was an awful lot new to see. And I just take that as a pretty telling barometer of just the health of the industry overall.
Yeah, and I think obviously trade shows, a big piece of going to trade shows is to see the new stuff, right? And I agree, like it was everywhere, and everybody was buzzing about, this new product or that new product. Off record, we could talk about what those were, but it was intense. I mean, there were some exhibit spaces that were just overflowing with people because of the new product, and then it was like, oh, that conversation carried over to the meal, to the bar, to the lobbies, all of these places. People are just talking about this new stuff. That's one really cool and exciting thing about trade shows. But the other piece is these connections that people make and kind of this community aspect. Now, I think we saw that when you look at the amount of people who are going to the CLA events, right? So the anniversary section, the women's luncheon events, the happy hours. Talk a little bit about kind of what you see there as someone who's been in this industry for a long time. Is this how it always is? Like, is this just how the industry is?
Well, I think that one of the things that we're, I think, proud of as an organization is just hopefully we've helped create a culture of sharing and of being very welcoming of one another in the business, and particularly for those that are entering it into the first time. I think what happened at this show is it just was amplified, to arguably the highest level ever, just because there was so much new energy. We had a unique situation where, due to COVID, we had a 3-year gap between shows. So I think that certainly led to the appetite. And again, if you line that up against the last 3 years of our segment of the industry, you could argue there's been more change in this 3 years than the 30 years that preceded it. So a lot of new people that were there. And I just love that so many people kind of found their tribe for the first time, kind of found their first couple of connections within the laundromat business, whether they bought a store a year or two ago or just in the process of buying or building their first store. They found a lot of folks that they could stay in touch with. And I was just at an event this week in Tampa, sponsored by one of the vendor members. And one of the pieces of advice that I gave is, how many of those folks have you followed up with? I know the show is 5 weeks in the rear view. have you sent a text? Have you made a phone call? Have you sent an email? Don't let those new connections fade. Make sure that you keep those things going because they're going to want to hear from you. You're going to want to hear from them. And we want to make sure that those relationships continue to build. And I think that honestly is the most value that we try to deliver as an organization, let alone the show, is a convener and a connector. And while we love to have great content you provide for us in Planet Laundry and so many other places, but the real value is in those person-to-person. We've got this one kind of unique business in common. We're the only ones that can sort of talk the talk and understand what it's all about. So that's certainly one piece of advice is, just pick one person that you met and follow up with them, knock on their door, and that's just going to enhance the value going forward.
Yeah, I love that because, I mean, really at the end of the day, we exist to bring people together, right? I mean, we're trying to like create community and make sure that you have the resources and the connections that you need to go further and grow your business. And being in an entrepreneurial space, it can get pretty darn lonely. So especially if you're in a niche place like laundry, where your partner or your friends maybe don't want to talk about it. They probably don't want to spend their time talking to you about laundry. So being able to find your tribe, I think, is super important. And I think that's an important service we offer. But one of the other things that people come to these shows, they want to see what's new. They want to make connections, but they're also there to learn. Right. And so I know that, I was sitting in many of those education sessions that were literally overflowing. Right. And we were trying to figure out how can we get more people in the door? Does this just go back to what we were talking about with overwhelming interest in the industry and all the new people, or was there something else different?
Well, I think it's a combination of new interest. I think it's a combination of the time we've been away. I think we've always had very well attended educational sessions at the Clean Show and through some of our other events. So I think there's just a desire to learn. And the approach that we took, you saw on display there, was almost exclusively peer-to-peer education. It wasn't sort of a talking head expert, on these different topics. It was really a lot of real life experiences. And so there was sort of the sharing, very sort of straightforward, candid, vulnerable, even sharing from peers to peers. But that just kicked off more conversations, right? So you run into that same person you saw on stage, you ran into him at our booth, another booth, or at a cocktail party. You have, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you handle training your employees, or how you handle, signing that next lease. And so I just think that entrepreneurs, I think you've got it right. It can be a lonely existence, and you really have to make an effort to forge those connections. But again, the rewards are real.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, I remember distinctly one session I was sitting there, and I was sitting at the front because I'm an overachiever and I want to be in the front of the room.
Of course.
And so I'm up there and I'm looking and I'm watching. I'm like, okay, cool. It's like Q&A time. I'm thinking, okay, maybe like 2 people will ask a question, and then they'll kind of cruise out. And I turned around and I looked back, and the microphones are in the aisles, and it's from the microphone to the back of the room, people just standing in line waiting to get their questions asked. And I don't think I've ever seen that at any convention, at any trade show. So that was pretty surreal to see. People are thirsty for it.
We're so fortunate to have again that combination of questions and answers, and the platform, the venue, the channel to connect the two of those things. And it was happening everywhere, and that's why everybody kind of leaves those events sort of exhausted and overwhelmed. And you try to just hold on to bits and pieces to make sure that again that value carries on.
So one of the things you said was, make sure you stay in contact with those connections. That's an important piece. And I love that because as humans, we generally are pretty bad at, following up and maintaining those relationships over time. But what about, that big idea I got, that thing I was going to implement because I heard somebody else does it at their specific location or in their stores. What are some tips that you might have, having seen this happen, play out over the years, to keep me on track? How can I make sure I stay on track and take that stuff back?
Yeah, well, I think part of it goes back to the first bit of advice in terms of outreach, because I think that sort of having some accountability with your peers and, okay, here's the one idea that I'm going to implement before the year's over. I think that ability to share those things and, verbalize them, it helps it manifest when you've got someone that you're checking in with. But beyond that, I think people do come back with, too many ideas and too much to follow up.
Right.
And the only thing that's worked for me, and maybe this is just too simple, is I like to just on my, my yellow pad here, just create 3 columns: now, soon, and later. What are the things I need to do like right now, like this week or today? What are the things I need to do in the near future, maybe, the next couple of months before the end of the year? But don't lose track of those bigger ideas. That might be a little bit longer lead idea for later. And so I like to use that, now, soon, later sort of template, and just understand that, again, you're only human. Oftentimes you're part of a small team, or you're the beginning and the end of the roster. And so you just have to, certainly keep yourself accountable, move forward, but also understand that you can only do 1 or 2 things at a time.
Yeah, I love that advice, because we get in this place where it's like, oh, we have to do everything. We have to do all the things, and like they have to happen immediately. But literally our brains can do one thing. Like it's one thing at a time, right? Like, I mean, we can breathe and walk, and we can do some of those things that are, underlying functions. But if we're trying to like implement a thing or focus on something, at work, it's one thing. So pick the one thing and go attack that thing, and then do this and then do the next thing, right?
Yeah, it's an ongoing process. And particularly with existing stores, it's sort of a continual improvement model where you're just going to continue to implement ideas and things. And of course, there's things like time constraints, bandwidth, dollars, right? Then you start to attach dollars to the now, soon, and later columns, and understand what you're going to be able to, what's feasible when it comes to the investment of time and money you need to make to have those things happen. But what I love about the events, it's ultimately a catalyst. It moves you along. And I hear a lot of people say, you know what, I was pretty sure I needed to do X. This just kind of confirmed it for me. It was nice to talk to other people that have done the following, or invested in this particular product, or added another store to the mix. And so, again, being in that environment has a catalyzing effect. And, the more you are able to sort of sustain that and revisit that in the near term, the more benefit you're going to ultimately get out of that investment.
Well, and so one of the other things that was going on at this clean show that I thought was really interesting, and it goes back to this concept of, seeing what other people are doing, right? And hearing things from others in terms of how they approach their stores. We did tours this year, and from my understanding, that's the first time we've done those tours. Is that right?
Well, first time in a long time anyway. So for all intents and purposes, okay. A new approach. And what I do remember from the old days is that, people love to see what other laundromats are up to. We do that a lot through social media and Facebook and so forth. We put a lot of social content out there through the association that are, primarily store tours, but there's nothing like getting out and seeing it in person and being able to interact not only with those business owners that are very proud to show off what they put together, but I'll argue that some of the best networking in this industry happens on those bus rides. You get seated next to somebody you've never met before. It's awkward for a second. You say, oh, where's your store at? Or how long you've been in the business? And all of a sudden you're deep into a conversation about, best practices and fresh ideas. So, our ability to sort of show off some of the best stores in Orlando. We started with 1 bus and had to add a second, added a third. We sold out a 4th bus. So it just showed us that, there are at least a couple hundred people that are willing to spend an afternoon driving all across town, seeing some of the nicest laundromats. And again, coming back with fresh ideas and good examples of things to emulate.
Yeah, the appetite is definitely there. And I agree with you. That time spent just kind of sitting in a charter bus next to somebody that you don't know. And I mean, you could not talk to them, but that's sure is a waste of resource, because you don't know who you're sitting next to. Yeah. And you might have the best idea of your entire show come from a simple conversation and a simple exchange with somebody that you just happen to be sitting by. So yeah, that's super, super valuable. Super valuable.
No question about that. I thought that was great. And I appreciate just a quick shout out to all those hosts. It's not easy to open your doors. Yeah. Like I think about having an open house at my house. I'm like, oh my gosh, but let alone having people come in and see your store and poke around and look under the hood. Took a lot of bravery on their part. So shout out to all of our hosts, and honestly, we can't wait to do it again sometime soon down the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to let like a bus of people come through, but it was 4 buses. It was one after another, and it's 50-ish people every single bus coming into your store while your store is open for business, right? So it's like, we're trying not to interrupt flow too much, so making sure they're still making money.
We got some real quizzical looks from some laundromat customers who are doing their laundry and folding and saying, "What are all these people doing here?" It's like they came to the zoo and are, looking at the enclosures up close and what does it look like to be at this store. So we don't mind those funny looks because we're there to learn.
I mean, on the one hand, it's like, oh, this particular location is getting pretty busy. It must be really, really good, right? Like, this must be an amazing location. Yeah, look at all these people. Yeah, so just a plug for anybody who maybe is not sure if they want to open their store to the next tour. You probably should, because it's going to drive activity.
Yeah. No, they all really enjoyed hosting, and we're just fortunate to have had that opportunity. And again, we just look for ways to add value for our attendees.
Well, so I think this tours thing is one of the ways that CLA is very good about trying new things and evolving and making sure that they've got a pretty good handle on what's going on in the industry and what needs to come up next. This is a tee up for something I'm pretty excited about, which is a big change in terms of what's coming in 2026 for Planet Laundry. Can you share some of that information with folks?
Sure. No, absolutely. And it's been a ton of fun working with you on this project. And we had a chance during the show to kind of do a little bit of a soft open and talk about the fact that while we have been putting out our publication since 1990, which started out as the Journal of Dry Cleaning and Laundering, a very catchy name there. Back in about 2010, we sort of did a rebrand and a refresh, and we've been operating under this very successful Planet Laundry, publication over that 15 years or so since that time. But you never want to stand still. It's like I always say, like if your washers and dryers are 15 years old, you probably are ready for a retool. And so we're in that same boat here at the association. So with your guiding hand, Matt, and all of your experience, we're going to be reintroducing our publication with a reboot called Full Cycle Magazine that's going to hit the streets in early 2026. And we just thought it was a great time to, again, kind of bring our publication up to speed with what's going on in the industry, take a little bit of a fresher approach, and change some of the cadence. So we're going to be on more of a quarterly cadence in print, but have a lot more digital content for our readers and viewers. And so it's super exciting to take something that has been working so well and do this sort of from a position of strength. Like, how can we sort of double down on a good thing and have something fresh for our readers, for us here, frankly, to get excited about a new project, and our response from our advertisers that obviously support the publication has been terrific. So we can't wait for Full Cycle Magazine to hit the streets just a couple months from now.
Yeah, I mean, it is certainly different. There will be nothing like it in the entire industry. I can guarantee that for folks. And we'll talk more about this, in the next couple of months here as we start rolling this thing out. But I know that was one thing that we got to launch and talk about a little bit at Clean, and I think that's really indicative of kind of how CLA acts as an organization, right? And it's very much what do our people need? How do we make sure we keep moving this industry forward? And how do we make sure that people have what they need and they see themselves represented in what is out there? So, big things coming. Big things coming.
Yeah, no, it's a tall order, but I always try to think about it as how can we sort of emulate that entrepreneurial spirit of our members, right? How do we keep innovating? We do a lot of the same things, right? You've been in the association world. We have trade shows, we have conferences. Right. I'm part of a mastermind. So we're always looking for ways to improve our business, to better serve our members, just like our members took that opportunity to do so at the Clean Show.
Well, so Bryan, what's next then? What do we got coming up? We had this trade show. It's sort of behind us, but we had a couple of ideas in terms of how we can, keep our accountability buddy and make sure we're doing what we said we're going to do. When's the next chance for people to connect? What's coming up for CLA?
Yeah, it's sort of a whiplash here for our team, but we love it. The next opportunity is our WDF 2025, our Wash, Dry, Fold conference. That is really the only full-scale conference in the industry that's focused only on wash, dry, fold, delivery, and commercial accounts. We're already in our 4th edition. We're going to be down in Nashville, October 26th to the 28th, so right around the corner here. So plenty of time to sign up and get involved. And that's going to be, again, wall-to-wall, peer-to-peer education on all things related to full-service laundry. We're going to have tabletop exhibits. I think we're over 30 exhibits now. So again, some of these are people are going to be able to follow up with from our opportunity in August. Many of you may have not had the opportunity to go to the show, but here's another opportunity to go see the latest and greatest in the technology and find things to help you grow this sort of juggernaut of wash, dry, fold, and commercial accounts that has, arguably been the number one trend in our industry. So we'll have this opportunity again, October 26th to the 28th. For Wash, Dry, Fold conference. And then not too far down the road, we'll have our signature event, which many of you know is Excellence in Laundry. That'll be coming up the first week of May in Hilton Head, at the Hilton at the beach. So we try to find a nice place to gather once again. And that's our premium conference that's really geared toward those of you that are, for the most part, multi-store owners, focused on scale, really want to spend that time with the best of the best in the industry. And there's really nothing like Excellence in Laundry for that high level networking. It's a much more intimate environment with a few hundred people rather than 10,000 plus that we saw at the Clean Show. So there will be more opportunities as time goes along. And don't forget, in September, just closed the month, we had 4 of our CLA Connect live meetings around the country. So we were in Boston, we were in Denver, we were here in Chicago, we were a couple other places. So always keep an eye on the website. There's always an opportunity to convene sometime soon.
Yeah. I think you all are doing a ton of stuff as it relates to just bringing people together. It's like what we talked about earlier, right? There's an obvious need, an obvious thirst for community building. And CLA is doing a fantastic job of getting out there and doing that and bringing people together. So I think that's amazing. I've got one last question for you before I let you off the hook. And I didn't tell you this question.
Sure.
We'll see how much you maybe have listened to some of the other stuff we put out. So you might know this is coming. But I always like to know, I like to leave people with one thing, right? One thing they can go back with. And an easy one is, what's one thing that we can be doing today that's going to make us better tomorrow? And it can be personal, it can be professional, it can be anywhere along the spectrum. But one thing we can do today that's going to make us better tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to sound kind of elementary, but again, I know from my own experience, I don't get smart sitting behind this desk. I got to be out and about. I got to be out, connecting with members, learning from the experts, and so I just think that. My one thing would be to get out there, go to a local meeting, get out to our next conference, make sure that you're taking advantage of all the resources that are out there. And, yes, there's an awful lot to do on the day-to-day, but I think that those extra efforts you make to drudge through the airport, to get out and about, to be away from home for a few days, I think there's always a big payoff. And so I would just encourage people to get out and make those connections. It's going to make your business better. And frankly, you're going to have a lot more fun in this industry.
Yeah, I love that. Because it really is, when the thing comes up and you're thinking about, oh, I don't want to go to that thing, or I'd rather just stay home. And then you go to the thing and you come back and you're like, I'm so glad I went every single time you do something like that. It's like, oh, I'm so glad I went. So yeah, there is power in that. And you are always going to get more out of it than you put in. So yeah,
no doubt about it.
Super sage advice. Well, Bryan, thank you for spending some time with me. It was really nice to be able to kind of unpack my first Clean Show with somebody who I would deem an expert in the space.
Yeah, well, my pleasure, man. It's great to have you with us and can't wait to do it again.
Awesome. Hey, if you all are listening or watching wherever you might be consuming this podcast, make sure you never miss an episode. You can catch them at PlanetLaundry.com. Soon, we will be changing that web address, so make sure you are on our list so we can make sure you get updated. So I'll be looking for Full Cycle coming January of 2026. That entire brand will change. But until then, PlanetLaundry.com, Planet Laundry Podcast, Planet Laundry Magazine, wherever you are consuming your content. Thanks again, everybody. Go out there, have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.